Zero cycles are probably the coolest Minecraft mechanic, but also one of the most daunting ones to learn. Today I'll give you everything you need as a beginner to start learning zeros. Due to the nature of zeros, there's a lot of different variations. Today I'm just going to cover all of the towers shorter than 94 because one setup can be used for all of them. The first thing you need to learn how to do is how to identify which zero will work best. They're not like one cycles. The height at which you build the setup varies depending on the obsidian pillar and the direction of the dragonfly. Now the first thing you're going to do when entering the end is look at which direction the dragon's flying. This means if you've done preemptive or anything to adjust your render distance and entity distance, you want to turn that back up. Let's say around 20 RD and 500 entity distance. The next thing is to make sure hitboxes are on. That's very important. Ideally, you're adjusting your settings before entering the end, because as soon as you enter it, you want to look at which direction the dragon is flying, if possible. There's 4 different directions she can go. Front diagonal, front straight. Straights are also called 1 and 8s. Back diagonal, or back straight. This means you're only ever purling to one of these 4 towers, and it's whichever one the dragon flies to first. That's where you're going to do your zero off of. Now, the next piece of the puzzle is the height of the tower. In the practice map, it's easy to identify because you just set whichever heights you want. I'll link it down below if you want to practice it for yourself. The height of the pillar determines where you're going to start your setup from. For example, a shorter pillar, you can start at around Y90 or maybe even lower. But if you try to do that on an M88, you're just going to blow up the crystal, which causes the dragon to fly away. The dragon can also fly if the crystal doesn't blow up. That's why there's different heights for each pillar. The higher you go up to start your setup, the less likely it is the dragon will fly. For each of the examples I show today, I'm highlighting one of the heights green. This height has the most overlap between the other pillars, which is why I find it easiest to remember. However, if you're struggling to hit it, don't be afraid to drop down, or vice versa. If it's too easy, go up a height. Alright, so for this setup, they all begin the same. You're going to pillar up to whatever coordinates I give you later on. And then this block is your standing height. This is where you're starting the setup. So in this example, it would be Y53 is our standing height, as you can see right here. As a side note, the glowstone is just a visual representation from where the setup starts. Everything from here on out needs to be a hard block, and you would use a hard block in place of that glowstone as well. A hard block is something like a nether brick or cobblestone. If you use dirt, it might get destroyed when you do the bed, causing you to fall to the ground. You're always looking at block. You don't want to look at X, Y, Z for any of the coordinates I give you. Always block. And then you're going to start by going out by 1, up 1, out by another 1, up 1, and then go to the side and then up 2. Now from here on the way down, you can place respawn anchors where I show. The easiest way I find to do this is just hold your right click and then fall off the edge, and it'll place it when you fall off it. And then you're going to place 1 on the side of the block that's in line with what you've just created. From here is where you're going to start your zero cycle. So this is the basic setup. I'll show you from the side now, like that. And altogether, it should look something like this. And then you would place your anchors up here like that. Now you would have noticed I placed an extra block there. If you place some extra ones below it, that's okay. So if you have one here or here, that's fine. But if you place them above, it's also fine. But it'll affect your one cycling angle. And if you're trying to do +1s, it'll make it a little bit harder as well. So these ones are a problem if you're trying to get the perfect angle. Sometimes you have to shoot the dragon underneath the obsidian like that. And that means it'll be a little harder if you have these sitting there, because you won't have as good an angle as that, if that makes sense. The dragon's height is heavily impacted by your bed timings. If you have an early bed, the dragon will droop down lower, causing risk of breaking the beds and being unable to complete the zero cycle. Alternatively, a late bed can pop the dragon up higher. With this principle, you can use a bed and a block underneath it to pop the dragon up if it's gotten too low. Arrows can be used to drop the height of the dragon as well. This is common practice in +1s. To practice +1s, come to your settings and you can turn on this timing assistant here. Essentially, +1s allow you to manipulate a game mechanic and get 2 full beds worth of damage in quick succession. There's a science behind this mechanic, but basically you want to shoot the dragon with a bow, detonate 1 bed while the timer's red, and then another one when it's green. This allows you to do 2 full beds worth of damage, which is called a +1. It's an advanced mechanic, but you're going to see it in my examples as well as the standard zero cycle setup. I'm showing you this because it's quite common practice for high level speedrunners. Also, in certain instances, I actually found the timing easier when I was trying to do the +1. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is your hotbar. You want to have a nice standard hotbar where every item goes in the same slot every time. For example, I always have blocks in my 4 slot and ender pearls in my 5 slot. But a bad example that I do is I've moved my pickaxe, which is usually on 1, to be in slot 2. Now I've practiced with this for a while, but it is an extra second before entering the end portal that I need to give to swap that over, if that makes sense. So that's something you want to minimize. It's very important to have things on the same slots because you want to be able to jump up and create your setup as quick as possible. And if you fall off it, you want to be able to pearl clutch or boat clutch or anything like that. So it's very important to have like standard hotkey slots for each thing so that you can just build muscle memory. If you didn't know, pearls in Minecraft are momentum based, meaning if I jump and throw a pearl, it'll travel for a lot longer than if I just throw a pearl normally. This is just something you need to account for based on the tower that you need to get to. Practicing nice flat pearls between these towers will allow you to get to these tall towers quickly enough that you can still do your 0. A high pearl will spend too much time in the air traveling and potentially cost you your 0. I'll narrate the first 2 so you can see my thought process, and then I'll be quiet afterwards. I do a nice flat pearl and then one as high as I can on this pillar without hitting the end crystal. That's important. If you break the crystal, the dragon flies most of the time. I'm pillaring up and out to try to get to the 28y -27 coordinates. When I get to 95, I start my setup that I showed you before. I place a bed and pick block another bed, and I'm detonating them as the little box in the dragon's head passes over the explosion hitbox in the pillow of the bed. If you don't know what I mean by that, feel free to watch my 1 cycle video. Here I'm able to do it in 5 beds, which is a pretty good number. Once the dragon's dead, it'll fly down towards the fountain. You can either pearl down or use your boat if you're low on health to get down there. Alright, so for the next 6 of them, it's the exact same thing right down to the coordinates. The only thing that changes is the starting height. And theoretically, you could use 95 for 4 out of the 6 of them. So like I said, the coordinates for this pillar or node are the exact same for the setup. The main difference here is that I'm trying to do a +1 for this one. I've left this one in even though it's quite scuffed, which you'll see in a moment, because I wanted you to see that it's still possible to manipulate the dragon's height once you mess up. If you've done all these, you can now do 70% of the front diagonal 0 cycles. Using this cheat sheet, just remember chords 28 and -27. Now, as a generalization while you're practicing, these lowest 5 you can do at a height of 95. Now, for the 91 and 94 pillars, you can do them at a height of 99. If you're absolutely brand new to zeros, I highly recommend starting at an M88 because the shorter towers might be harder to reach height 95. Now, here's the cool thing. For the back diagonal, you can actually use the exact same principle with the same heights. The only thing that changes is the chords that you need to do it at. Let me show you what I mean and explain a few other tricks as well. So the back pillars, you need to throw 3 pearls to get there instead. This means you have to do nice flat pearls or you won't reach them in time for a lot of these, especially this really short one. Here you'll see I kind of fail the block clutch, meaning I won't have as much time to get to the 95 starting height. This is where adapting to a different starting height and knowing all of them comes in handy, but trust me, I know how hard it can be to remember all of them, which is the whole purpose of this video. From here, the zero is the exact same. You'll notice for a lot of these upcoming back pillars that I tend to pearl to the most front left obby block. This is because I can use block positioning instead of always just using chords, something that we'll talk about a lot more when we talk about the 1 and 8s. So for the T94, you would have noticed I built it off this block of the obsidian here. This is a perfect segue into block positioning, which comes very much in handy when you're doing the 1 and 8s that I'm about to show you. Much like how we purled to the left side of the other towers, on the 1 and 8s, you can purl to the middle here if it's a front 1 and 8. And essentially this allows you to not have to remember the Z coordinate, although it is 0, so it's not too hard. But now you only have to remember getting to the proper X coordinate and the proper standing height, which does just make it a little bit easier. This trick should work for any height pillar, which is perfect. Whether it's a front or back 1 and 8, you still need 3 pearls to get to the proper side to start your setup. In order to get a successful 1 and 8, if you're not very good at speed bridging like myself, the best thing you can do is try to get a pearl as close to the standing height as you can. I also find that the 93 is a lot easier to hit than the other 2 heights that I give you. Now for the back 1 and 8, it's the same thing. 3 pearls to get to the back. The only difference with the block positioning on this one, you don't want the center block, you want one to the left, as you can see here. Which should be easy enough to remember, as that's the block we were aiming for all of the normal diagonals. If you're able to do these, you're able to do well over half the total number of 0 cycles. There's a lot of things I haven't covered in this guide, such as side setups or buried spawns. These are all very important things, however, I feel like they just add a little bit of confusion to it, so I'm leaving them out for now in the beginner's guide. Use this info and practice it, and I promise you the rest of it will come super easily. If you want more information, or if you want to see how a pro sets these up perfectly, please check out the MCSR wiki video, which is actually who I learned from. There's a lot more info in those videos on these techniques, and you can get the complete guide for the setups that I haven't shown you in this one. As always, I was just trying to break down a complex topic in this video to make it more easy to understand. Let me know how I did.